Hello everybody, this is Curtis Spivey with Team ABU Games with a bargain budget build special. Today we'll be talking about the changes in rarity and additions to Pauper from the Ultimate Master set coming out December 8th. Remember, all the cards we talk about today can be bought at abugames.com. So let's go ahead and go over what Ultimate Masters is, and we'll talk a little bit about some big awesome things that happen. So the first thing is, I love Pauper. Pauper is an all-common format, and a couple different things I'm going to cover today. It's just not what the cards and where they kind of go in Pauper as a format, but also if you're a cube player, and a lot of people follow a bunch of different cubes. But one of my favorites is actually the Pauper cube, and this has been one I've been following for a bit, so just run me update in your cube and talk about where maybe this card could be in Pauper. So let's go ahead and start with, right off the front here, we've got Locus I Mystics. So this was an uncommon originally and has gone ahead and moved down. We have now got this card at the lovely bit of uncommon. So where would this card see most of its play? Well, let's take a look at it. For 3 colorless, 1 white, you've got a creature human monk, and it's got prowess, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. When Locus I Mystics enter the battlefield, return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So if you're looking at this in Pauper, it costs 4 mana for a 3/2, so this may not be the best. It is going to go kind of hand in hand with another card we'll go ahead and look at, but in your cube, if you kind of have an enchantment theme with kind of those green-white hexproof auras, we've kind of got your card right here that you can put in. It kind of gives you that recursion. Not everyone's going to use it, but it's absolutely something that you can use. I really am a big fan of this card. I think I want to go ahead and try it. Definitely have got my foil copy already on order from our site, and we'll try this out in my Pauper cube as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next card, and we've got Mammoth Umbra. This is a 4 colorless and 1 white enchantment aura, and enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has vigilance. This card has totem armor, so kind of awesome thing about totem armor, if the enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all aura damage from it and destroy this aura. Now, first thing in any kind of Pauper league, we already have some other auras that are much better than this one. This one does cost 5 mana, so it's not going to see much play. Kind of another big thing when we're going through and talking about these parts. Not all these cards are going to be heavy hitters, but there's 20 of them, and I'm going to cover every single one of it. For my cube, I really wouldn't touch this. My Pauper cube is very powered, and like I said, I don't know if we'd want to have this in there, but if you like it, there you go. From here, we've got one of the big staples going from a rare and all the way back and revised is Resurrection. 2 colorless and 2 white. It's a sorcery. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, this was a rare for forever and has not been reprinted. This is now a huge set, kind of a cool thing. This is being downshifted from rare to common. So the first time this is showing up, all these 20 are all the first time. Now, I'm not 100% sure where this is going to fit in. I think that you can actually now build around a white reanimator deck. There isn't the biggest benefit right now to picking white over black, because black has Exhume, some cheaper cards that you can actually go ahead and reanimate your creatures with. This is still something that white's never had and could be really cool, just adding into a whole nother level for your cubes. In Pauper, I'm not sure where this can see fit on there. I can't wait to see what some brewers are going to be, and I'm definitely going to play with it as well. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Spear Cavalry. Now, this is a 3 colorless, 2 white mana creature, human soldier, so 5 total casting cost, flying and double strike. So in Pauper, yeah, that seems to have some really big stats, but then at the end of the day, when you kind of look at it, it's 5 mana for a 2/2 that dies to a ton of different items. Don't think this is going to see play in the Pauper format, but in my Pauper cube that I run, I'd love to try this out and see where it's at. Yeah, it's a 4/2, but if you have any way of pumping it, double strike is just one of those more rare mechanics that don't happen at the Pauper format level. So really kind of a cool thing to look at. I really like the idea. I just want to see where it fits at, maybe do a couple drafts with it and see how people feel. From here, we've got one of the most high Priest, 2 colorless, 1 white, Cat Cleric. It has got Heroic, and whenever you cast a spell that targets the High Priest, return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Now, it's a 2/3. Now, here's the one thing. I didn't kind of mention Heroic earlier, and when we were looking at the monks, because 4 mana is really a lot. I mean, could it fit in the mono white Heroic Pauper deck? It probably could. I actually think this will, though. If your board has already been cleared because you're playing against mono black and Pauper, this can really give you kind of that oomph to bring back your creatures. This also plays really well with maybe if you did want to run one of the monk, where you could return an enchantment that could target this and you get more value. Now, there are some infinite combos right now that you could definitely build with this. A lot of people I've seen that have been talking about it. One thing is Alex brought up a wonderful thing on Channel Fireball, kind of the head honcho when it comes to Pauper format. He was really talking about like ethereal armor or just having the Cartouche of Solidarity from his article lately, and I really think these are some great things that you can do. Another one of the big things that I really like about this, though, is just being able to get back those early Laguna Band Trailblazers and the Sky Guard. That would just be so good late game. Looks like your board's cleared. You just get more creatures. They have to kill this instantly, and a 2/3 really isn't that awful in the deck. 3 mana is starting to get to the top of that curve, but I think it's fantastic. Now, for the Pauper Cube implications, this will be added in. This is such an awesome card to have in Pauper now. I can't wait to play with it, see if we can make like maybe a themed broken combo. Just anytime we get a new Pauper card, just awesome. From there, we've got the Wandering Champion. Now, one thing about the Wandering Champion, it's probably one of the best 3/1s that we've ever had. It's a colorless and a white human monk creature, and whenever the champion deals combat damage to a player, if you control a blue or red permanent, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Now, I like the Skyjack probably better from back in our lovely original Theros block, because it's a 3/1, and if it attacks with 2 or more creatures, ends up getting flying, so evasion's usually top notch. But if you kind of had like this red-blue tempo deck where you have your red creature out and you're just putting in the damage, maybe being able to discard this will kind of get you a little bit further in there. So I'm not going to write this one off yet, even though it was just downshifted. It's not the best of the 3/1s because we already have stuff like it in Pauper, but it is a really good idea. I think it definitely is something to keep in the back of your mind. Now, kind of we get to talk about the big uproar right now about ban this in Pauper before it even happens. Let's talk about Foil. Foil is a 2 colorless, 2 blue instant, and you may discard an island card and another card rather than pay the spell's mana cost. And here's what it says: counter target spell, the Force of Will of Pauper. This is going to see play everywhere. People have already been freaking out and saying, oh my gosh, we need to ban this right away because we've got Gush that can actually put 2 islands in your hand. And so you can have Gush, draw cards, discard the island you needed to have it, and counter a spell. Personally, my feelings are this won't be banned. This will be brought up, but if it is too powerful, because Delver is a top tier deck, if not the top tier deck in Pauper, that this card could just push it over the top. We don't know yet. It's going to take testing. That's one of the great things about getting to test a bunch of different kind of formats and different decks. Foil is going to be powerful. Blue is probably already the most powerful color in Pauper. And in my Pauper Cube, I mean, it goes without saying, having just one more way you can counterspell, and I really like to force kind of the controlling deck in that Pauper Cube, so awesome pickup here. Moan of the Hollowed, 2 colorless and 2 black, getting onto our black now, sorcery. For that 4 mana, you create 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. So it seems pretty good on the front side if you're just trying to like go wide or finish off a game. It's not bad, kind of like you think about it as just a 4/4 but spread over 2 bodies. It's pretty awesome. But here's really the great part about this downshifted uncommon. It's got flashback for 7. Yes, 7's a lot, but in Pauper you really do grind out a lot. And it's got that flashback for 7, so you can recast this from your graveyard and then exile it. This can give you 4 tokens total. I think control decks probably have been looking for some really awesome ways to push through damage. Now, Mono Black can have this, but the problem in Amir is this would just die. Your guys would get swept up by Avkar's Justice. So don't know if that's actually going to make it, but in the cube, you can bet for sure this is going to go in. This just gives you another way for those token decks and just a way to kind of finish out the game. I mean, who doesn't want 4 black zombie tokens anyway? Really such an awesome piece on here. From here, Stout. Now again, I promise not all of them are great and probably butchering the name on him. He's 2 colorless and 1 black. He's a creature elemental, originally getting print from our lovely older blocks that we have. And kind of the thing that about this is this isn't going to be the strongest thing that we've had, but when you talk about the Lorwyn block for creatures, I love the new artwork on this one, but I just don't know if it's going to get there. But let's go ahead and start over and go over all of its stat. The Olaf Snout, it's 2 colorless, 1 black. It's a creature elemental. It's got Flash, and whenever it leaves the battlefield, exile target creature from a graveyard, and it's got Evoke. Evoke was a mechanic that happened back in the Morningtide block, and you may cast a spell for its Evoke. If you do, it's sacrificed when it enters the battlefield. It's only a 2/2 as well, so 3 mana. Be honest, there's so much better removal that you have just for that you can get rid of. I mean, if somebody does want to have a creature, or we're trying to count creatures in a graveyard for 1 black, and you're going against something that has that graveyard recursion, this could work. I'm not 100% on it, but again, really good card. Definitely want to give it a shot for some of those graveyard decks. Don't know where it fits right now. In my cube, it's going to be on the sideline, but if something changes, could always throw it in there. Good to see it uncommon. Down to common. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next one here. This is one of the big cards that a lot of people aren't talking about as much because we really haven't had it at common yet. Aslam Reaper. This is a 3 colorless, 1 black creature horror, and when Aslam Reaper enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. It's a 4/2. So here's one of the kind of crazy things with this. Tortured Existence, where you can discard a creature card to get something back, or a Grim Harvest that you can use. This can give you the recursion that we've never had in Pauper. This could make an entire new format for control decks. Now, there is still a lot of those lovely token producers out there, kind of just went over some of them, but it's also a 4/2, so it can kind of close out the game fairly quick. I wasn't sure at first about how this looked, but again, I'm going to add this to my Pauper cube and we'll see. And in the Pauper format, I'm not sure. I think it's going to take some testing, but really good discussion to go over about where you could see this be. Let's go ahead and start with our red cards. We've got Arena Athlete. It's a 1 colorless red creature human. We've got a new heroic, so we can finally be red-white heroic and actually have some decent cards for it. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Arena Athlete, target creature an opponent controls can't block this turn. It's a 2/1, so it's made to be very aggressive. The strong parts about this are, if you are in that heroic deck, a lot of the times your opponent wasn't able to block because you already had some type of evasion with the Skyguard. But now this could give you something if you're really trying to push through those last points of damage, or maybe you just ran that red-white and it's a little bit bigger and you need to return an enchantment that was destroyed earlier with the monks. So kind of going back to that, there could maybe just be this new style of red-white heroic we haven't had before instead of just mono-white heroic. I still feel the 4-drop is a little too expensive, but always good to talk about the different options you have. Always love to have some kind of like aggressive creatures. This may not be the best your fill, so I don't know if it'll meet my Pauper cube, but again, it's always great to talk about it. Let's go ahead and talk about another kind of sinker that we have, though, is Molten Birth. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. 1 colorless and 2 red. It says it's a sorcery. Create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens, then flip a coin. If you win the flip, return Molten Birth to its owner's hand. Now, here's one big thing about this card. It creates 2 red tokens, 1/1s, but it says that whole thing, flip a coin. Now, if you're into flipping a coin, sign up. I don't think I would touch this. It's not going to go through my cube. But if you have some really cool cards where you're just like, I have to have something that flips a coin at common, sign up. It will not see anything with Pauper play. We already have stuff that's way stronger. Dragon Fodder, don't need to add the colorless onto this thing or the extra red just to get the chance of flipping a coin. So you could return it to your hand to cast it for 3 again. So let's just go ahead and pass on through this one. More power to you if you'd like to use it. Let me know. Now here's one that we are talking about, an arrogant Worm in red. Red does suffer and tries to look at some more pounding power, so this is a 3 colorless, 2 red, 5 mana cost total. Creature Worm, trample, it's got madness of 3, so if you discard this card, you exile it, and when you do, cast it for its madness cost or put it into your graveyard. So we already have a bunch of really good cards at common that could already make this thing awesome. So we have Tormenting Voice in red and Faithless Looting. To me, this instantly goes in my cube. It's a 4/4 that can be for only 3 mana, and even if you have to like discard this at a random time, don't really have a big discard theme for your opponent, but just adding into your own to find just like some better ideas for better creatures, digging through, this thing can be awesome. At this time, we really haven't talked too much about what this kind of Pauper deck can look for, but there could be a red-green madness. We've got a lot of stuff printed over the past couple years. Ultimate Masters just brought us just another awesome piece here. It's a 4/4. What more don't you like for only 3 mana and trample? I think this will go great. You'll be so happy to be playing with this. Definitely something I'm going to see in Pauper, I'm betting. I want to see some people try with it. I'm going to personally do it, and for sure in my cube. So let's go ahead and go over Spark Spitter. This is a 2 colorless, 1 red creature elemental, and for 1 red, discard a card, create a 3/1 red elemental creature token named Spark Elemental. It has trample, haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice Spark Elemental. It's a 1/3 for 3. Now, this again is a card that I think was downshifted, not because it was overpowered, but because it's going to be really hard to play with. Here's the bigger problems that you have. You can still make sure that you put this on defense to trade, so there's a little bit of awesomeness there. I am thinking about trying it in my cube just because I do like the ability of maybe you need to push through damage at the end. I don't like discarding a card, but let's go back to the card we just talked to right there, Reckless Worm. If you're looking for another discard outlet, or you just have some other things you're trying to make with a discard outlet, that's really what I think this card's made for. It's not for that front half for it, so it's deceptively awesome on that one. I don't know if we're going to have it just in Pauper. It's just a little bit too, for the Pauper actual format, a little too slow for that, but I think for cubes it could find it that way if you find some kind of synergistic deck and put something together with it. Let's go ahead and talk one that's really crazy called Groundskeeper. It's 1 green, human druid, and for 1 colorless and 1 green, return target basic land card from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 1/1. We have a lot of stuff right now that you can loop. So for example, any of the Flame Jab, the Ravens card that have where you have to retrace, where you get to discard a land card, you could play around something with that. Another thing is if you have some graveyard shenanigans in either Pauper or your cube, where you're putting a lot of lands in the graveyard, this could be something that you could use. I'm going to try it in my cube because I do think it's cute. I don't know enough people know if it's a build around, so I think it's actually something we do need to talk about. But anytime you put lands in your graveyard, any sacrifice effects for lands in your graveyard, or discarding a card to get back, this could be really good. Again, that red-green kind of discard deck that I just mentioned on there, this could be one if you're discarding a land with your Spark Spitter. This could be a combo that you have between the two, so I kind of like those ideas. It's really cool to have just like maybe infinite loop. No, 3/1's not the best in the world, but it could just get through those final damage. I like playing around with these cool ideas that you can do to discard that really haven't been there in Pauper before. So more of my cube. Don't know where it's actually going to be in the Pauper format. Hope someone breaks that, but just wanted to have that discussion. Mining Slime. So it's 2 colorless, 1 green sorcery. Create an XX green ooze creature token where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Now, really haven't had some Celestia themed token decks in our cubes or in our Pauper decks lately. I just don't know if you want to pay 3 for this and then have something where your creature gets shot and maybe get a 1/1, or by the time you have it, it's another cute thing to throw some power on the battlefield, but I don't know if it'll make it in Pauper. If someone has some ideas, love to hear them on there. And as far as the cube for the Pauper cube, kind of going to pass on this one too. Just think that green has better fatties. Probably rather play something on curve to make sure you know you can play it. Nothing's worse than your board has been completely cleared and you draw this off the top. Now, Kinker Abomination, 2 colorless and a hybrid black and green, so 4 mana total. This is a creature treefolk horror, and as Kinker Abomination enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. Kinker Abomination enters the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter for each creature that player controls. Now it's a 6/6. Now, I've heard a lot of things about people want to play this with like the land destruction decks, so someone can't play a creature, or if they do play a creature, it would be super small, but the potential of getting this out early with maybe something like Arbor Elves, or maybe the other mana ramp you add into your cube would be something big, or maybe just in the Pauper format. Now, the problem that I always see when I see cards like this, it's cheap. Yes, it's a 6/6. Can you keep your opponent's creatures off? And what happens if you play against like a white weenie deck where you couldn't keep them off their creatures and you're holding this in your hand and it would seriously be a 0/0, so it just dies when it comes into play and you have no way to remove creatures? Even those land destruction decks do sound good with this. I just don't know if that's going to make it. I mean, when you can play Gurmag Angler for 1 mana and your graveyard's filled just from killing other stuff, is this really that much better? Maybe in a super heavy black removal deck and you're going to be able to take care of all your opponent's creatures could see play. I'm not going to call and write it off on there, but I am going to definitely put it in my cube. We're going to see what kind of decks you play against. Now here's some things. If you have a heavy removal deck, maybe this card's awesome and just a great finisher. Just another card to go right alongside for cheap creatures to go in. But without that, I'm not sure. The only benefit is it can be black or green, so that's definitely a plus. Next thing we've got is Dimir Guildmage. Now, this card I am a huge fan of. Why am I such a huge fan of this card? It's because look at what it does. Dimir Guildmage, hybrid blue and black, so 2 mana of any color of blue or black are in that combination. Human wizard. Now for 3 colors in the blue, target player draws a card, activate this ability anytime you could cast a sorcery. Or for 3 colorless in the black, target player discards a card and activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. Now it's a 2/2. Now this is really a utility creature. Why I think this is such a fantastic creature though is because it really can have you go deep. If you're in a control deck already, this is something awesome that you can add in there. You've got these early beats that you could put into 2/2 or hold down the 4 or just make your opponent discard their hand. But I'm going to give you my secret here for Pauper where I think it's going to see the most play. It's going to see it in Tron. They're already using the prisms to be able to cast whatever mana they want, and after you get a couple out, it's just so easy to cast whatever. And then after this thing's in play, man, making yourself draw extra cards or discard the cards, so make sure your opponent's hand's full. It gives you that versatility of both sides. It's something that's super awesome. Really think this is going to see a ton of play on that one, and if not, I'm okay with being wrong. Definitely goes into my Pauper cube though. Alright, the elephant in the room for a lot of people is we've got Fire and Ice. This is a split card where fire is 1 colorless and 1 red. It's an instant, and fire deals 2 damage divided as you choose on any 1 or 2 targets. So we've already had this with Twin Ball for a few times in there to kill creatures at common, but we've been able to do this already. But we've got versatility because the other side is ice. So it's 1 colorless and a blue, tap target permanent, draw a card, it's an instant. So this can buy you time. Already mentioned in the beginning how Izzet decks are so strong. This may just push them over the edge. If you haven't played with this card, even in older formats, it used to be a staple in early days of Magic, so it's crazy to see it downshifted. It is an absolute add in my Pauper cube. As well as being in regular Pauper, I think this is just going to replace so many extra slots. The fact that it can actually give you that versatility for damage, I can't explain enough how awesome this is. This will be fantastic. You'll be happy to put it in your decks. Can't wait to play with it and test and see how good it really is. Now we've almost made it through them all. Here's the 20th card on here. We've got the Vessel of Endless Rest. This is a 3 colorless artifact, and when the Vessel of Endless Rest enters the battlefield, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. Or tap it to add 1 mana of any color. So it's a monolith which we've had for a long time and actually run in my cube, which this can replace because maybe just that extra graveyard synergy that you have, where you could maybe hate on your opponent's graveyard. Maybe they were trying to get something in their graveyard so they could finalize, or they're close to a Gurmag Angler, or just anything they could play again from the graveyard. This could be an extra piece of sideboard hate. Now, for actual Pauper format, I'm not sure where this would replace or what it can go in, unless you just have like a self-reoccurring deck on this one, because it is only 1 card. But with the new blue counterspell from guilds, you can put some extra cards, so I mean, it really seems like it has some legs here. Now in my cube for sure, I want this Manolith mana. You always want to have it, and just maybe if you do want to tuck something back in your deck, this would be really awesome. Now, I just want to make sure a couple things on here. Everything that you saw today, you can buy as singles from abugames.com and also have all the sealed product. Now, there's a ton of different cards here. I want to know what you think, and just being realistic on here, this is some of just my ideas. I love Pauper. I want to hear from you. And thanks so much for listening to this Bargain Budget Build Special. Once again, I'm Curtis Spivey. You can follow me on Twitter, if you see down there, at the MTG Beard, and you can follow me at Strictly Nor on Instagram. Thank you so much for your time. Everyone have a fantastic day.